So, hi guys, welcome back to Overtime Heroics MMA. I'm Martin Hamilton and I'm joined today by UFC's number 14 ranked flyweight, Casey O'Neill. How you doing, Casey?
I'm great. Coming off a big win. Can't be complaining about anything.
Are you getting used to people telling you that you're ranked in the UFC now?
It's still a little surreal, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it because obviously Antonina's not ranked herself, but 3 fights, 3 finishes. I think that they had no choice but to rank me. So I'm super happy about it. Obviously, it's something that I've really wanted for a long time, and I'm in the rankings, so I'm in the mix, and I'm finally getting some respect about being good, and everyone thinks I'm good and all that. So that's the first time in my life I've felt that way, and it's nice.
So we'll just start this interview off with the question we know everyone's wanting to hear at home. So you're originally from sunny Irvine in North Ayrshire. What makes someone up sticks for Irvine to Australia?
So I was actually born in Irvine and I lived in Kilmarnock. I went to Prestwick School. But yeah, I think my parents decided they were sick of the rain and sick of the gloominess. So they moved to Australia. And I'm so glad that they did, because I grew up on the beach and I grew up experiencing two cultures, because they spent a lot of time back home as well. So I got to see both. And it was just awesome. I think it made me a really sort of well-rounded person in the sort of the world, I guess, because I've continued to travel ever since then. So yeah, I think we only moved to start with for the weather. My parents wanted to go on holiday. For every 2 weeks we had on holiday, we were in the sun. So I think they just wanted to live in the sun for the rest of the time.
It makes sense, and I completely forgot that it was Kilmarnock you lived in. So moving from Kilmarnock makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. yeah. I don't know if anybody's watched The Scheme, obviously, but I think that that's sort of the reason for moving. But no, I love Scotland and I love the roots that I sort of grew up there. And then I also love Australia and I love the roots that I grew up with there. So it's kind of why I call myself a Scozzy now. I think I'm sort of both places now. I'm Scottish Australian.
I always find this very surreal as well, because I was born and brought up in North Ayrshire. I was born in Irvine as well, but I lived in Ardrossan, which is like 15 minutes away. I always find it surreal as someone from that area that Scotland has 3 ranked UFC fighters and 2 of them just happened to were born in Irvine and lived in Kilmarnock. For such a small area, I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that, Scotland's getting put on the map now. There's obviously Paul Craig, Joanne Calderwood, and now myself in the UFC doing big things. Chris Duncan's about to fight tomorrow, and I know he's going to smash it. So yeah, we're getting out there. We're getting on the map, long time coming though, but I feel happy about the representation that Scotland has in the UFC.
Yeah, and it's that way as well. It's across the board now in MMA. Like there's good representation in Bellator. Chris Bungard's over there, Robert Whiteford. We've seen like the kind of Cage Warriors takeover that higher level have done. So Scottish MMA is really thriving right now, and it's amazing to see, because you've got so much talent to kind of support. And I feel that's like the great thing about Scotland as well, is it's similar to what Molly McCann and Paddy Pimblett say about Liverpool, is they get behind their fighters. Have you?
Definitely, I've felt the love so much from the Scottish fans for these fights. I'm fighting behind the Scottish flag, and I think that they love that. And I see all these Twitter things about, we're trying to claim her as only our own. Whenever I say I'm Scozzy, they're like, no, you're Scottish, you're not. We're claiming you 100%. So I love that. The support is amazing. I can't wait to fight in the UK. I can't wait to fight in Scotland when all this COVID stuff dies down, and I can't wait to get home and do some training. A lot of places. My cousin actually owns a gym in Scotland as well. So be over there training as soon as I can be.
What gym is it your cousin owns, sorry?
Scottish Hit Squad. Ayrshire Hit Squad. Ayrshire Hit Squad.
Oh, Neil Laird.
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Yeah. I've got a couple of friends that train over at Ayrshire Hit Squad, they've really...
Sorry.
No, it's fine. They've really started to take over as well in the regional scene. I think last I seen, they were like 8-0 for 2021. They're doing amazing.
Yeah, so obviously my dad's what got me started in MMA. He was a kickboxer, which got me started in kickboxing when I was young. And then when we moved to Australia, started running MMA shows, which got me into MMA. But even more so than my dad, my cousin was fighting on my dad's shows before I was. So my dad was bringing him over from Scotland to Australia to fight for my dad. And he was doing big things in MMA first. So I kind of wanted to beat him. I had a little jealousy. I wanted to do more than he was doing. But no, I'm so glad that I had that growing up, you know, him and my dad. And now he's doing big things as well. So I'm super proud of him as well. And obviously he's grown a good team over there, and I expect some of them to go on to do big things as well.
So when you joined the UFC, you'd only been a professional fighter for 2 years. Did you feel more pressure coming into the UFC because how quick the turnaround had been?
Yeah, so I've actually had 5 fights in 13 months now. So a year ago I was 3-0 as a professional, and now I'm 8-0 as a professional. So I've had 5 fights and 4 finishes in that time. And I think that I didn't let the pressure build up because I just was like, just get it done, just get it done. But now actually after that last one, I feel more pressure than I did before it, because I'm like, oh God, now like, look what you've just went and done. Now I'm trying to take a break. I think I'm sitting back and realizing everything that's happened, and now I'm number 14 and all that. And I want to be the best in the world. So I'm a perfectionist. I still don't think that I'm good enough yet. So obviously that plays into my head a little bit about like, I want to be better. So it makes me train 4 times a day like a crazy person. But no, it's kind of surreal, to be honest, everything that's happened. And I'm slowly starting to take it in, and obviously believing in myself more and more as each fight goes on. I'm finishing people in the UFC that have been established in the UFC. So it's hard to not feel pretty good about yourself when you're in there mixing it up with the best.
And it's that way as well. It's the way you're finishing these people.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. If that happens again, hang up on me. I'm not joking. No, sorry. Wow. Okay, we'll just have to put a warning in for everyone that I keep dropping my phone.
It's absolutely fine. It's the way that you're finishing these girls as well. And it's because you've got Antonina Shevchenko, who's like a world-class striker. You TKO'd her. You get Lara, I'm going to butcher this second name, and I apologize. Procopio. And who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and you tapped her out. It seems like you're just...
Well, she didn't tap. I got a lot of hate for that too. She didn't tap. I put her to sleep. But I get your point. Sorry, I just wanted to put that out there.
No. How did you get hate for that? Sorry.
So, because I pushed it off me after I won, I got hate. But people find everything. This time I did this little symbol, which is for my friend Kyle Reyes, who just passed away during my camp, who I actually used for my camps to get better, and he passed away. So I did the sign for him, and everybody started saying I was part of the Illuminati. So people are mental online. I'm not even sure anymore. I just take it by a grain of salt.
I was going to say that's all I would do, because people online are insane. But
I love it though. I love reading these things that I didn't know about myself, or I never thought would ever be said. But I love it.
Do you look your name up on Twitter?
I haven't, no. I haven't. I've just get these comments, obviously, on my Instagram. I see comments where people are saying you're a Freemason, you're a devil worshipper, you're part of the Illuminati, all this stuff. I'm like, all right, that's a new one, but I'll let you have it.
Yeah, well, how did you know? I thought I know. It's a good secret.
I know, exactly.
But the thing with like pushing her offer as well, that's just seems a bit low, because at the end of the day, I know it's the sportsmanship there, but it's also a fight. Like, you've just
at the end of yeah, I mean, I've never claimed to be anything that I'm not. You know, I'm a fighter, and I think that we just punched each other in the face for 12 minutes and no one had a problem. And then I choke her to sleep, and pushing her off is the problem. I'm like, there's a whole lot more wrong with that than pushing her off me. So I think people just find something every time, as I said.
Well, and that as you progress, that'll get more and more, but the love will also get more and more. So that always balances out these like couple of odd comments.
Mm-hmm.
But let us cast your mind back. You've just won your UFC debut v Shanna Dobson. What was going through your head at that time?
Yeah, that was crazy. I had a lot of doubts going into that one for the first time in a long time. You know, I'd been in the regional scene, I'd been beating everybody, but obviously the big thing with the UFC is best organization in the world, best fighters in the world. Like, you know, that's your toughest test. So I was thinking in my head that it was going to be so tough, and I was like having to get ready even harder. So I did like a 3.5 month training camp for that fight, which is like something I never do. I was a little burnt out, to be honest, and exhausted going into the fight. So I was a bit nervous. And then once I won, it was a overwhelming sense of like relief, achievement. You know, I was proud of myself, and sort of gained this confidence back. And I was, yeah, it was a whole lot of things. I was sad, I was happy, I was excited. And yeah, I don't even know what was running through my mind. I just started crying, and I cried on ESPN, and I was like, oh, wish I never cried in front of everybody, because I am a really ugly crier.
I don't think anyone really looks nice when they're crying, if that helps any.
No, I mean, I don't care either way. It just made for my friends to make fun of me, you know. They were like, I can't believe you cried, and all they would post to congratulate me was the picture of me crying, and I was like, thanks guys.
Because is that when you first started to notice that your career was like taking off, your profile in the MMA community was starting to take off after that fight?
I think worldwide, yes. In Australia, I feel like I'd already established myself as the best girl in Australia. I'd had a lot of fights in Australia, and I think I was on an 8-fight win streak when I left Australia for the first time, 7 or 8 fights. So I'd won against everybody at that point, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. But then you start going across the waters and fighting people that you've never heard of, or who have fought people you've never heard of and stuff like that. It gets a little bit different. So I think that after the Shayna fight, yeah, I was like, oh, I can really do this. And then I think it was after the Lara fight that I was like, I belong to be in the UFC. I think that I can go really far here. And then obviously after the Antonina one and being ranked, I think there's no ceiling to my future.
Because that's the thing as well. Like, it's not all the time that your first UFC fight is against someone who's relatively well known. Because like Shanna Dobson, like she is well known in the MMA community. She was on the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that. So did that play a part? I think that you actually like you knew a lot about the fighter and you knew the name.
Yeah, and I thought to myself when I got a chance to fight her that I was going to be able to take a lot of fans off of her and everything like that, because she had a lot of name value and people knew who she was. And then once again with the Antonina one, even more so. I felt that a lot this time. I felt like I was really going to be able to do that. And I like to do that. I want to do that every time, you know, fight somebody more well known than me, somebody that everybody thinks is going to beat me, so that I'm the underdog and my parents make good money off betting off me. And, you know, I think that I just love to fight the best people, or people that people think are better than me, because I like to prove myself. And I'm loving these challenges that are being put in front of me.
Because you spoke about fighting in the regional scene a little bit earlier, and this is something that I noticed when I was doing a bit of research into you, and I was looking at your record. But you lost your first 2 amateur fights. Mm-hmm. Does that help take a lot of the weight off your mind about having a perfect pro record, because you've already felt defeat as an amateur, and you know that you can get through that?
Yeah, not just the losses, you know, they came really early on. I was 15 and 16 in those 2 losses. So I was really young, and they were pretty devastating losses. And a lot of things after the second loss changed in my life. I changed gyms. So I had a completely new coach, completely new training partners. My family and I had just moved. So my dad and I moved to another part of the city. So I didn't really know that many people that I was training with and everything like that. So it was a whole new thing. Struggled with a bit of depression after the second loss. You know, everyone was telling me that I wasn't good enough, or it wasn't for me, and I should find something else and just do it as a hobby and just train. And I wasn't happy with that. So I really dedicated myself to pulling myself out of that and training really hard. So I trained for 2 years without fighting, 4 hours a day at nights after school or after work, and came back with a vengeance. And I think that my self-confidence grew from that. You know, I didn't give up when everybody else gave up on me. And I managed to make myself something right after that. You know, I came back 2 years later, finished my fight in the third round, and then I had another 5 amateur fights that I finished as well. So my confidence was growing. I knew nothing was going to be able to shake me because, you know, I had pretty bad losses. Everyone gave up on me apart from me. So I knew that all it took was myself to continue to believe in myself and continue to train hard, and that nothing bad was going to happen. And as a professional, I think I feel that same way. I train so much harder than most people that I know. I'm literally in the gym 4 times a day, training at 4 different sessions. I don't stop. And I know that as I climb the ladder, fights get harder, obviously. And I know that one day I'm going to lose. Nobody's invincible, but I feel pretty good about however it's going to go down. You know, I think that I'll give everybody a good fight. So I don't see myself losing the same way as I did back then ever again.
That was really quite powerful. Some of the stuff you were saying there, and it's a lot of time I find it, especially over Zoom, it's very difficult to take some of the things that were said in and kind of treat it with this kind of sensitivity that it deserves. But see, as like a 15, 16-year-old girl, and everyone round about you has essentially gave up. What was it that kept you going? What was it that kept you mentally strong that this is where I'm going to be? I'm going to be the best female fighter in the world.
Obviously, I had great parents, you know, that helped me and told me that I shouldn't give up on myself. I should continue on. And also myself, I'm a strong-willed kid. I've always been, you know, I always wanted to do what people said I couldn't do. And everybody giving up on me and everything. Sure, there was times or days that I felt like shit. I wanted to give up. I didn't really like care anymore, but I continued to go day after day. And I knew that like, if I trained hard enough, that it wasn't going to be that way forever. So the only thing that kept me going is wanting to be a fighter so bad. This is the life that I wanted from the start, you know. 0-2, I couldn't give a shit. I couldn't give a shit if I went 0-4 for the first ones. I wasn't going to stop, you know. I was going to make it here. And I knew that my story would be Cinderella-like, you know, from nothing to everything. And that's how I still see myself going. I still see myself getting to the top no matter what. So I think that self-belief is so powerful, you know. Not giving up on yourself and really believing in yourself is the only thing that matters. Everyone else is just outside noise.
No, that's absolutely right. And I feel as well that, especially with the fights, that you should treat it with that kind of, that old cliche that John Kavanagh says, either you win or you learn, but you learn more for a loss than you do for a win. So although people have losses in their record, as long as they use it as a learning curve, as long as it's a learning experience, rather than them because it's easy to kind of give up on yourself after that. So I think it really shows but kind of the testament of someone's character as well. And it's good. It's a good life lesson, even if things don't work out for everyone in the MMA world, which it doesn't. Learning to lose in sport helps you to overcome adversity in life. No, you get too philosophical about it, but if you don't get that job you want, or something happens in your personal life, you're able to overcome it because you've experienced adversity in sport.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've always tried to tell sort of younger people or less experienced people than me that talk to me about it. You know, a loss is not the end. You can't just stop off a loss. I see it so much with people with such potential in the sport. They take one loss and they fall off. They don't train the same way, or they don't want it as bad or anything like that. I'm like, you got to want it more after that. So as you said, it applies to everything in life, you know. Taking a loss off at anything, or not getting the job, or whatever you say, you know, if you don't stop there, something's going to work out, you know. Fortune favors the brave. And if you don't ever stop that fortune's going to come around to you one day.
Because you touched on as well, like training 4 times a day, just essentially living in the gym. So how important is it to have a partner? Because for those at home that might not know, Casey, your partner Ty, he's a professional fighter in Bellator. So how important is it having someone like that in your life when you're going through this journey? Someone who's going through that journey with you.
Yeah, it's a lot easier, I think, than it would be to have a partner who didn't fight or didn't train, because obviously he understands everything. You know, you're exhausted at the end of the day, you're grumpy during camp when you can't eat what you want, and you're sensitive maybe a little. I am anyway. In the last week I'm very sensitive. I cry a lot, I get angry a lot. So no, someone who's been through it themselves, it's a lot easier to be with them, because they just sort of let it all go over their back. And I can't be the easiest to be with 24/7 because of fighting, but he understands, and he's not the easiest to be with when he's in fight camp either. So yeah, it's good support. And then obviously we rely off each other's energy. So if I'm a bit low one day, he'll like help me up, and if he's low, I'll help him up, because training takes a lot out of you. It's a lot, like every day you're doing physical contact sport every day, so it's easy to like get into a rut or start to feel like so tired and like depressed, and you're hungry, you want to eat all the things, you miss out on a lot of stuff. So just having someone else who's going through it, you know, it makes it a lot easier. You're not alone, and you actually get to do stuff with someone who, like, maybe like we go to the movies and we don't eat snacks because we can't eat them. So it's like if I went with my other friends, they'd be eating popcorn and everything in front of me. So yeah, it's good to have support.
Yeah, absolutely. Just something that was coming through my head when you were talking there. And do you ever get like see like having someone like that in your life who's a mixed martial artist? Do you then find it easy, like, kind of bounce ideas off him? So see if you're sitting in the kitchen and you get a great idea for a combination, do you ever just like go try it out just there and then, just to see if it works?
Yeah, I do. I'm always doing that. He's always doing that. We watch fights together and we start doing stuff on the ground. Like I'm like, oh, well, they should have done this, and I start showing him, or he starts showing me what he thinks. And if you've noticed, he's always in my corner, because it's really easy, sort of all fight week. As soon as I feel like it, like we'll just be sitting on the couch and I'll be like, let's get up and move around a bit. And we'll just move around a bit in the kitchen in the hotel, you know, and you can't do that with just anyone. So yeah, it's really good. And then obviously at the gym, he'll come and watch me spar, and we'll spend time afterwards going over techniques and everything. So it's like you have your own personal training partner and coach 24/7. So even for me, he's huge. I still use him as a training partner, and he lets me beat him up and pick him up and everything like that. So
because you mentioned earlier on in the interview as well that you've went around a few gyms in Australia, and you've also went to the likes of Tiger Muay Thai, and you're now at residence of Extreme Couture over in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. I was just wanting to know, how big an impact has that been in your career, being able to train in such high profile gyms and making them your home?
Yeah, so when I started fighting, actually it was like frowned upon to be like a gym hopper. So I was always like, as much as I hated being at that first gym, I didn't feel like it was my place. You know, it's not a bad gym. I just really didn't feel comfortable there myself. I didn't want to be looked at as that person that hops from gym to gym. But when I finally made the move, I was so happy. It was like a weight off my shoulders. I had amazing training. I felt like I grew so much faster. And then the opportunity that came to do the Tiger Muay Thai trials, which for people that don't know is like a 4-day thing in Thailand. They train you 3 times a day hard. You feel like it's like a fight camp / fight every day, and you get up and you do it the next day and the next day. So I went and did that, and I felt like I gained so much from that. And they offered me a scholarship to go over there and train, which I decided to take on a whim, and went and became a full-time fighter for the first time in my life. That's the first time I've ever been exposed to like high-level training partners, people that are in the UFC, people doing things that I wanted to do. So I was seeing the way they lived and the way they trained, and realized that it wasn't much different to me. So that was another confidence booster. I was like, I'm already doing the things necessary to get to where I want to be. And then with COVID shutting down Tiger, I moved to Las Vegas. Once again, even more high profile people, good bodies, people like Misha Tate, Cynthia Calvillo, girls like that are literally where I want to be, other females, which was so empowering for me as well. So you grow so much from moving gyms and having different training partners, different coaches, just different ways that people look at things. I think if you're stuck with one person, you're only stuck with that one way of thinking. The more that I open myself up to different people, different countries, cultures, coaches, all that, I feel like my ways of thinking has expanded so much. So I feel like I have grown so much faster than most people.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I don't see why any kind of shame should be put on someone for going round areas and expanding their knowledge. See, even if it's just locally, like there's plenty of guys in Scotland who travel all around the best gyms in Scotland to get the best input. And these are guys like Chris Duncan. He's got his home up in Stirling, but he travels around the whole of the country. He travels to America to get the best information. And he's
I actually first met Chris Duncan in Thailand at Tiger, so he travels around a lot. I've met him a few times, and then I just seen him a couple of weeks ago at Las Vegas at Extreme Couture training. So yeah, he's a great example of another person that just does what it takes. I'm actually really excited for him as well for a Contender Series. I think he's gonna smash it, and there's going to be another Scott in the UFC real soon.
I hope so, because he's had the worst possible 2 weeks. I can't imagine what he was going through when that fight got cancelled in 24 hours notice. He's made weight 3 times in 14 days. Like, you must know that. You know that better than anyone. Like, it's hard enough to make weight once.
Yeah, I can't imagine what he's gone through either. You know, it's a terrible thing, but at the end of the day, he's proved himself to the company and to everybody that he's a fighter. Fighters fight. You find a way to make it work. You know, you look at all these people missing weight with full camps, and he's made weight 3 times in 14 days. So the guy's a legend. I think he's another example of literally nothing can go wrong for him when he's put in the work the way he has. I truly believe that. So he's professional, and he's put in the work, and he's done all the right things. And I think that it's really going to pay off for him.
No, absolutely. And obviously everything's crossed for Chrissy's fight tomorrow. We're all going to be watching with great everything crossed. But like you mentioned after your fight with Antonia, that you had trained together before. Did that impact how you viewed this fight, or was it just business as usual?
To be honest, a little bit, because when they first offered it to me, I was like, oh, well, let me just check like with her, because we're kind of friends, you know, we're from the same team. Tiger, I know for a fact, doesn't like it when their people fight each other, especially the Hickman brothers. So we're both sort of had trained with the Hickman brothers, and those are my guys. And they were like, hey, does it have to be her? Like, you know, we want you to fight someone else. But then I found out she accepted. So I kind of got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder with that. I was like, oh, well, she doesn't care. I don't care. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to beat her up for that. So yeah, I got a little bit angry about that, and helped me get through training camp, and it helped me get out there and smash her. I was really angry until the fight was over actually about that. So it was nice. It was an extra, what do you call it? An extra like incentive to win, I guess.
Is it just water under the bridge now? Have you spoke? Is everything okay?
Yeah, we're fine now. You know, it's MMA. You find a reason to fight harder every time, no matter what it is. You know, someone could accidentally bump my shoulder, and I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna fight her even harder now because she's bumped my shoulder. So it could have been anything, but yeah, we're fine now, obviously. And we didn't train together that much in Thailand, just a couple of times, but we were definitely friendly. They sort of do their own thing though, which I think they'll continue to do. I wish her all the best in the future.
Was that something that went through your head at all when you seen Valentina there as well? Because obviously you and Valentina are the same weight. Your ambitions to be the #1 flyweight in the world. win that world championship. Was that ever something that crossed your mind when you met Valentina, that I'm going to need to fight this girl one day?
Not I'm going to need to, more like I get to. And it was more like a thought during training camp. I kept thinking like, oh, she's going to be in the corner. Maybe that will throw me off a little bit. But actually in the fight, it didn't at all. I didn't notice it. The only time I noticed it was when she came to say thank you to us out the back when I was getting my photos taken, and I gave her a hug and I just sort of sized her up a little bit because I was like, well, looks like this is going to happen, you know? So obviously I want to give myself a couple of years. I think that if I went in there now, I'm not ready. And she's a great champion, a dominant champion. And I think that give me a couple of years to catch up and I'll be just the same at that level, and I'll be able to give it a good fight against her.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Valentina, she's arguably, in my opinion, the second best woman ever in martial arts. Her accolades speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. One of the other questions I wanted to ask you, and it just popped into my head when I seen your tattoo on your wrist, but where did the nickname King come from?
So my coach in Australia was a Russian, and he used to tell me that my training I was doing was king shit. And I don't think he knew the difference between male, female, whatever. It was, I was the king. So I loved it. And King Casey sounds great. And I just took it and ran with it. And then the more that people hated it, the more I loved it. When people kept saying, you have to be a queen, you have to be a queen. And no, I don't think so. You look back at the old days, like the most legit women were known as the kings. And I'm King Casey. And if they don't like it, they can suck it.
But last question before I let you get back to your day. I know you've had a busy day training and you just want to get back to normal everyday life. But see, now you're ranked in the UFC, is there anyone's name that's on your mind?
There's a lot of girls on my mind, to be honest, and they're not even just the ranked girls. There's a lot of girls. Obviously, there's only like 30 girls in our division, so it's really easy to keep track of everyone because there's not so many. And I like the girls that are doing well. I like to, fight somebody who's got a good name recognition, as I said to you, a lot of fans and someone doing well in their career. So there's quite a few girls. I won't name names. I've given Mick a whole list, and any one of those could happen. I'm looking to fight sooner than March, actually, maybe February. So you might see me on a pay-per-view real soon.
Because that is, when you said you like to keep tabs on the division, that is something I have noticed for your social media. But any time that there's a flyweight fight, you put that fight on your Instagram story, like as if you're doing your homework and you're letting these girls know that you're watching them.
Yeah. I want to fight the whole division eventually. So, whoever it is, I want to fight them in the division and just test myself against everyone. I think that's why we get into this. I love to be active. So I think that's not too much to ask for. I can get to fight everybody because I like to fight a lot. So yeah, obviously there was a couple of good girl fights on the weekend. I watched those fights. So those girls are in my sights. And then a couple of other girls that have been winning well recently, just before and after my fight. I think that's good timing, sort of, the girls that fought around about the same time as me, it's a good gauge of who I might fight next because we're sort of coming off the same amount of time and everything like that.
I'm just hoping, as a Scottish mixed martial arts fan, that they keep you and Joanna Calderwood away from each other.
I hope so too. I hope that they give Joanne her title shot. I feel like she deserves it. She's been in there forever. She started as a strawweight, obviously did tough, was in Invicta back in the day. So she's done her time. And I'm looking forward to seeing her fight for the belt too. I like to see that other Scots doing well, as I said. I hope she's the one who gets the next title shot.
No, absolutely. And we wish her all the best. But Casey, is there anyone that you would want to shout out? Any sponsors, any training partners, pals?
No, I mean, if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, King Casey MMA, you'll see everything on there. I tag all my sponsors and training partners and everything on there. So easiest way to get a hold of me too. You can message me through there. I usually reply. So yeah.
No worries, and thanks very much for your time. It's been really appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks everyone in Scotland who is supporting me and watching this as well.
No worries. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.